Blasting down both barrels at ultra-violent maximum, searing through the servo skull of injustice, we are the last bolt of rebellion, 665.66 UHMR Chemrat Radio, coming to you live tonight from Bob's Basement Basket.
Residents of the Talvalic Hab districts are being advised to stay indoors and cooperate with administratum curfews tonight, as Class 3 riots have exploded across the sector. This marks the third time water disputes have erupted into violence the last month. Reports suggest the glass eaters might be responsible for the growing unrest, as arson attacks have continued to escalate.
Glass might melt the brain, but it sure doesn't affect their ability to play with fire.
As addicted to the searing heat of extra hot Dimacarian wings as I am married to my plasma, I'm your host, Goblin King, joined tonight by my co-host, the electrifying and effervescent eviscerator of the Nuka Spicy Challenge, Emmy.
Hello, everyone.
Always armed with a plan and a will to use high explosives to win any eating competition, it's our very own Archaeotech hunter, Chac.
Usually the explosion comes after the contest.
And and here to make sure that none of us get lost on the way back from the bathroom, it's our special guest, Drew.
I don't know how many times I have to tell you people you cannot flush Ambot parts down the toilet.
There needs to be an amble wing. There needs to be a spicy amble wing now. You've put it in my head. I'm ruminating it. I will mention it to Bob. We'll see what he can come up with his connection. The other thing, at some point, and this is back into the real world of the podcast recording, we should come up with recipes for what all of Bob's basement basket wings are, like how to make them. And then we should do like a Hot Ones episode where we actually try to eat them. It could be like a Twitch special or something.
Okay, honestly, for years I've wanted to do like something like we all get some, go to our local Asian market or something and buy some bizarre like beverage, and we all together try the Ocean Bomb X Sailor Moon lychee juice.
Okay.
Pocari Sweat, baby.
Oh my god, Pocari Sweat. Oh my god, I haven't heard that in forever. That's a Japanese energy drink, right?
Energy drink. Yeah, it's the number one energy drink of Yakuza all around the world, but also Japan.
Pocari Sweat, you just took me like straight back to art school.
But like, the next time there's an AI generated limited edition Coke flavor, we all try it and rate it 1 through 10.
I can say with some confidence that I'm pretty sure Bob would definitely sell Kroot fingers.
Kroot fingers.
No, what's the over-under that it's actual Kroot and then actual fingers?
Yeah, exactly.
It's just nid-anus chopped up. Like calamari.
Is there a warning when you eat the Kroot fingers that it could lead to pregnancy? Because then it's actual fingers.
Ah!
I told you about back massages, right, Emmy? We talked about how
we've talked about this extensely. We don't need to talk about it again. Nope, we're good. We're so good, Ryan.
The lighter side of Gene Stealer cults.
That's a yikes for me, Doug.
It's when a Kroot walks up to you and is like, "Hey, body massage." You're like, "I'm good, bro. I'm good." Oh my god, guys. Well, if you want to see all of the randomness that we get up to, the pictures that we bring up, I brought up a picture of a 4-pack of Pocari Sweat for a second there. If you want to be involved with all of that, you can join us for $3, $6, or $9 right now on Patreon and get access to not only a special Patreon episode, and there are probably a couple of hours of Patreon exclusive. Actually, there's probably several 100 hours, I would say, of Patreon exclusive. It's several tens of hours of Patreon exclusive content out there right now, but you can also get this episode as a video episode and enjoy it. With that in mind, we would like to welcome you to Under the Hive of Madness, episode 110, the Horus Heresy and the Cabal. And this is the official kickoff of season 4. Technically, last episode, our Lotus Furious episode, was the first episode of season 4. But this kicks us back off into our main content. The next several episodes will be all Horus Heresy focused. We will be covering the middle years of the Horus Heresy. And before we get really into that, deep into that, we kind of felt that we all needed to take a second to look at the Cabal a little closely, a little more closer. Because as you guys probably got little hints of with the end of our Horus Heresy, the first chunk of our Horus Heresy content, Alfarius and Omegon are not necessarily purely bad guys. They're not necessarily good guys either. And a lot of that comes into kind of the secret society, secret nature of what the Cabal is and what they're doing and why they're doing it. Or was. I shouldn't say is, was.
It's all just, I mean, if we're being real, it's the Doctor Strange scene from Endgame.
Yeah.
Right? When he gets the time crystal out and he's like, the only way to win is to lose.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
You were just reminding me of This Is Spinal Tap, the little like intro to the Stonehenge song where he's like, no one knows why they were there or what they were doing. And then the little 8-inch replica of Stonehenge drops down. It's classic, guys.
Oh,
if you haven't seen it.
It's when we can reference several different movies with the topic that it's always pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. The Cabal was a secret organization that dedicated itself to eradicating chaos. It drew operatives from more than 1,000 intelligent Xeno species, including the Eldari and humanity. They claimed to have battled the forces of the Primordial Annihilator, much like Logar's Primordial Truth. These are both just other names for the Chaos Gods, from a time before the existence of mankind as a thinking species. As we've seen with a couple of other ancient Xenos species, they have a tendency to be like, since when before your ancestors climbed down from trees. And that's this. Here we are again, hitting that same beat. Their covert operations were dedicated to predicting the future and steering the intelligent races of the galaxy towards an ultimate goal of wiping chaos from existence and quieting the Immaterium. They meddled in the affairs of the Imperium of Man and in the Horus Heresy, using their foreknowledge of the War Master Horus's coming actions to seemingly recruit the Primarchs Alfarius and Omegon and the 20th Legion of the Space Marines, the Alpha Legion, to their cause before the Great Betrayal took place in the early 31st millennia.
Before we go, let me say this. I understand the conflict in your hearts. How one may beat for duty while the other bleeds for your Legion brothers who will be sacrificed. But this is civil war. It is a time of confusion and realigned loyalty. We have many heads, but we act as one Legion with a single will. We are a union of the alike and the like-minded. We will not tolerate treachery. We will not allow our compact to fracture. We will not suffer the short-sightedness of our brother legions, nor the averted gaze of the wider Imperium. We are Alpha Legion, and we take the long view. Omegon, twin Primarch of the Alpha Legion.
So as a quick aside on Alfarius and Omegon, they may not technically be twin brothers. While the lore is hazy, and this is a direct reflection of how the Alpha Legion itself hides its own records, remember the Warhammer 40k universe is a study in unreliable narration. Theories range from them being an embryo that split in its gene engineering pod to traditional twins that the Emperor very specifically designed, that he made them to be twins, to the fact that Omegon may actually be Alfarius's clone.
And there is another one, that Omegon is actually the older of the two brothers, and Alfarius. Yep. Alfarius is one of the ones, and this is touched on in the books, is that Alfarius is the youngest Primarch and Omegon is the oldest.
Oh. Yes.
Yeah. So when the prophecy refers
Alpha
to the
Omega.
First Primarch and everybody, and it's all assumed that is applying to Horus.
Because he was the first.
It's applying to Omegon.
That's fun.
Yeah. What we do know is that they were discovered last and that they were found by Horus. And Alfarius is the only one that was officially recorded in the meeting. He also acted as the face of the Legion. And while he could blend in with his Astartes, when needed, he would take on his true and impressive Primarch form and stride onto the battlefield like a figure out of modern myth. We talked about this when we covered the last battle, or not the last battle, but when we covered the battle of, there's so many battles. Why can I not remember the name of the battle? Not Fall.
Is the drop site
No.
master?
Is this
No.
And they weren't in Cal.
The one where the Alpha Legion did some fighting.
The one where the Alpha Legion did some fighting. The battle of the Pharaoh.
Oh, the Pharaohs?
I can't remember the name of the fucking system. This is bad podcast guy, Ryan.
Ryan,
podcast
how
guy.
could you forget?
Because there's so
one
much
battle
Warhammer
in the
shit
middle of the Horus Heresy in the fictional universe that we make a dedicated podcast about.
I
How
know,
can
right?
you forget this one detail?
I'm the goddamn worst right now.
I am deeply hurt that you have not committed these all
deeply
to memory.
fucking hurt.
Ryan, you're failing AP Warhammer.
Oh
you're not getting the credit for this.
I'm the only teacher of AP Warhammer. How is this happening? Oh my god. Paramar. As we covered with the battle in the Paramar system, a lot of times it's kind of relayed that Alfarius was the shortest Primarch and that he blended in with his Alpha Legionnaires because he was small. And there was kind of, when we talked about Alfarius coming off of his strike ship onto the Pharaon of Paramar and taking on his full guys, and everybody being like cowed by the fact that they all of a sudden realized that they were in the presence of a Primarch. And there was kind of this questioning back and forth of like, well, I thought Alfarius was this super short guy that everybody thought was just a normal Space Marine. Alfarius could be that. But whether or not it was an item he had, whether or not it was a tinkering of his own genetic code, whether or not it was a power that he had, or whether or not it was just a subtlety, when he needed to be just as big as Horus, he could be just as big as Horus. He was, at the end of the day, still a Primarch. He was not an 8 foot tall or 9 foot tall Astartes pretending to be a Primarch, an Astartes walking around in his daddy's boots, so to speak. He was a full-on Primarch. What we also concisely know about Alfarius and Omegon is that they shared one soul. And this actually leads a lot of credence to the theory that Omegon is actually a clone rather than being a true brother. Because if he was a true brother, and if he had been truly created by the Emperor, he would have a spark in the Immaterium just like Alfarius does. However, in conversations between Alfarius and Omegon and a couple of the different novels, at least 2 of the different novels, Omegon says stuff along the lines of, my soul does not reflect like yours does in the Materium. I lack the soul of. And then Alfarius says back to him, no, we share one soul. They're very definitely 2 separate people. They're very definitely brothers, but how that is handled is a little different. Are they true brothers or are they clones or whatever? And we'll get deeper into all of that when we cover the Alpha Legion in depth on their own episode or series.
Huh.
Yeah, they're weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what allows for the that they seemingly share almost like a single consciousness, there are times where it's sort of implied that they always know what the other one is doing, right? They go for that what's that character from G.I. Joe that like one is hurt, the other is hurt sort of thing, like that they and so they can sort of coordinate their secret actions without anyone ever knowing.
It's almost kind of like Madrox from Marvel too. What's his actual name? Multiplicity Man. Madrox is his actual name, but his like superhero name, Multiplicity Man, is Omegon. Is Omegon just a reflection of Alfarius? And the things that are very clear in lore is that Alfarius leads the Legion, Omegon operates in the shadows. However, when Alfarius needs to do something and Alfarius still needs to be there, Omegon can take over and nobody knows there's been a difference. So
it's like Naruto's shadow clone.
Yes.
So have you guys read the Imperial Fist book? I think it's Protector of Terra.
Yeah, but it's been
okay. It's probably the best Alpha Legion book. next to Legion, which is the best Space
Legion's
Marine
got-
book because it doesn't have Space Marines in it.
I think Legion is the one where they have the conversation where Omegon reveals that he doesn't have a soul, and Alfaria says, "No, you have no, we share a soul." I think that's the book that conversation takes place in.
Well, the Legion is the book all about John Grammaticus.
Yes,
and Space Marine and the Alpha Legion doesn't really play very much of a role in it. And the Protector of Terra, I think it is, where Alfarius is killed by Dorn, and
maybe allegedly
he has a spear stuck through him.
Allegedly. It's like the number one rule when talking about the Alpha Legion, just liberally sprinkle allegedly everywhere.
Well, Omegon says he's dead, so you don't know. As he wakes up and says, "My brother is dead."
But what if it's a trick? No, I'm kidding.
Here's where I think we get cheated a little bit. I know that like traditionally we only have one legion that's dedicated to a particular chaos god. You know the World Eater's Khorn, etc. Nurgle and Mortarion's boys. But like it kind of feels like the Alpha Legion fits more with Tzeentch than the Thousand Sons does.
I wanted to kind of dip into, this is a good place. This is the most we're going to talk about the Alpha Legion in one place. So this is probably a good place to do. But if we were to step into tinfoil conspiracy, Warhammer conspiracy theory territory, I would say that the Alpha Legion are the single most selfish legion that exists. I don't think the Alpha Legion ever intended to or meant to side with Chaos. And I don't really know if they're currently actually sided with Chaos. I think the Alpha Legion is on the Alpha Legion side and always has been.
Well, I think there's only one Chaos god that the Alpha Legion could really turn to, and that, of course, is the Golden Boy on the throne.
Yeah.
Ah, yeah. The Star Child.
They are. Right? I think they are devoted to the once and future Chaos god who are waiting to die.
Oh my god, what's the okay, I can't. I'm getting into
I mean,
theater
the
nerd
Great
territory.
Horned Rat has ascended to godhood in Age of Sigmar. He may make his way through the Immaterium and be like, Omegon, Alfarius, yes. And they'd be like, allegedly, my guy. Allegedly, yes. And then they could like do rat shit together.
Well, I think they should be written going forward future, just because I missed this trope that GW has sort of done away with, is that they should simply be a renegade chapter.
They should be a renegade chapter
who is either only out for their own or they're out to protect humanity, not the Empire.
Like the Ashen Claws, kind of?
Yes, my boys. Or as the Alpha Legion, what's left of the Cabal.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of difference. There's a lot of ways they can go with it. The Alpha Legion is definitely, they're very fun because they allow you to play. And I imagine they'll probably always be in this place where they'll let you play what side are they on? Mm-hmm. What side are they really on? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Mm-hmm. To get back to the Cabal, the secret organization itself eventually came to be seen as a threat by the Eldari and their own abilities to defeat chaos. So the Eldari realized that they weren't going down the right path. They weren't set up to do it correctly.
Yeah.
The Farseer Eldrad Ulathran of the craft world Ulathwe had foreseen that there was another path. So the two paths that we'll go over later with the Cabal, Eldrad saw that these weren't the only options.
No.
They began to work against the Cabal specifically in order to derail their plans and to see whether or not the Imperium of Man, right? They began to work against the Cabal in order to derail their plans, which were to see the Imperium of Man lose the War of Chaos during the Heresy. And the Farseer and his agents later worked to eliminate much of the Cabal's leadership and its most important agents. And by the middle of the 32nd millennium, Ulthran Eldrad was satisfied that the Cabal had been basically completely destroyed. So the Cabal is not a current faction. They don't exist anymore. There's a little bit of argument to be made that whatever did continue to exist of the Cabal, if any splinters existed, became the Cognitae. However, the more I learn about the Cabal and the more I learn about the Cognitae, I think it's just a word association. People see a C word and a C word.
I don't buy that one at all.
And they put them together. Yeah, I think the Cognitae is... The Cognitae wants to know the language of creation itself so they can manipulate chaos directly. Yeah, the Cognitae is a different beast. We'll get into them later.
They are the Shadow Inquisition.
Yes.
The Cabal are just the Slan, right? Like, if we're being real.
Kind of.
Hey,
there's some Slan-like derivatives, but, you know.
I think if you go far enough back that the origins of the Cabal are essentially the Slan, as they knew they were dying, right? They were basically starting to pass, and they'd already been engineering this, right? They are responsible for most of the intelligent life in the galaxy.
Much of the
right?
galaxy, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, they were just recruiting their kids to start setting things up, start moving things along. And as they were dying off, the Cabal became less and less the Slan and more this cooperative of different races working in secret.
One of the members of the Cabal is basically described as a Slan.
One of the members of the Cabal is a Slan.
Yeah.
Is Slan. Out now. It's one of the last.
Allegedly a Slan.
He's
but
like
I mean,
the
it's the
Slan's
closest.
great grandson or whatever, but yes.
It's the closest we get to the writers admitting that they put a Slan into the Cabal. Yeah.
And then some of them are just like energy beings, and some of them are mechanical beings, like maybe a Necron.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know, like I'd say it's perfectly. Given the state of Necron lore, it's perfectly reasonable to think that there was one. Yeah, like I wouldn't be surprised if like Trazyn at some point just pitched in every once in a while because it meant he got something cool for his doodad house,
right? Or he sent his assistant, Jeffrey, and told Jeffrey to go take notes.
Yeah.
We know between the end of the War in Heaven and the beginning of the Horus Heresy, during the early part of the Age of Strife, or just before the beginning of the Age of Strife, there was the conflict with the Men of Iron. I'm going to reset everything I just said. We know between the War in Heaven and the Age of Strife, there we go. That's what I was trying to say. There was a conflict with the Men of Iron. There was the Cybernetic Revolt. And what we know about the Cybernetic Revolt is that the Cybernetic Revolt was so bad that it took all of the races of the galaxy to band together in a council to defeat them. And so this is before the Imperium. This is before the Unification Wars. This is before the Emperor. This included the humans. It's very realistic in my mind that the Cabal was that organization. So the Cabal existed sometime after the War of Heaven ended, and they existed to kind of fight these like galaxy ending or universe ending threats, one of which was the Cybernetic Revolt, the next one down the line being chaos. And as Drew mentioned, they were a collection of disparate alien species. We know that I believe you covered mechanical life forms. You covered energy based, correct?
Yes, energy beings.
Non-corporeal creatures, insectoids, avian aliens, simian aliens, reptilian creatures. We know that all of these existed. We also know that humans were there. We know that Eldari were there. So we covered in our Eldari lore, our Eldari faction series way back, almost 3 years ago at this point. The Eldari are not descended from simians. The Eldari are descended from some sort of cat-like species. That's why they're so different from humans and why they kind of make us uncomfortable. It's also the thing that makes them not just space elves. So we know that there's, Eldari have more in line with like a feline, like a great plains predator cat than they do with simian, essentially.
Interesting.
There is a lot of like imagery that's evoked that like Ivrain and her like little cat thing,
right?
But the and there's black eyes that Eldari are normally depicted with, or can normally be depicted with. Yeah, there's a lot of things that that they have a very predatory nature, more in line with feline descendant creature than a simian descended creature.
And monkai does not mean monkey. I forget what it means, but it does not mean monkey.
Yeah, but it's very tailored to say monkey.
Yes, it is.
Monkey, yeah. That is the joke.
Of course,
the
it's a
kids
joke.
say.
Monkai, stronger together.
Yeah.
As far as the Imperium could confirm, the Craftworld Eldari and even a number of human agents were also counted among the Cabal's members. The infamous John Chromaticus was one such active agent during the events of the Horus Heresy, although he appeared to act more as a subordinate of the organization's inner circle than ever having any status within the organization itself. The organization was nomadic and constantly traveled across the many worlds of the galaxy that were part of their kingdom. And while there's little information about their starships or other modes of transportation, what the Imperium does know about is really impressive. The cataloged Cabal starship was a huge Hive City-sized flat disk capable of atmospheric operations, including planetary landings and takeoffs. It had a stealth or cloaking mode that was undetectable using any Imperial auspexes, and had the ability to interrupt or jam all communications, both physical and psychic, within a certain radius. The vessel also possessed the abilities to unleash an electromagnetic pulse that could temporarily disable the systems of any other spacecraft in its vicinity. There's a lot of this which says to me Shadow in the Warp style technology.
Yeah.
They definitely had Shadow in the and maybe that was part of the insectoid. Maybe there was a splinter of the hive mind that was involved. Very, very easily.
Yeah.
And we know from other writing that the hallmark of where their space was with these very specific landing pads that are saucer shaped like this ship. These they would clear away on a given planet. They would carefully engineer a livable section of the planet. So these big, disc-shaped spaces that would have like anomalous like weather patterns and stuff like that. Those like these like miraculous little oases on these different planets, but because of stellar drift and other planetary changes that have happened over millions of years, it is impossible to say what their actual boundaries were within the known
begs
galaxy.
The question: with all this technology, why didn't they just show up in the Sol system and take out the Emperor? They can terraform planets. They can't be detected. They have complete stealth. They can shut down with EMP pulses all technology around them. And they could take out the Palace on Terra. They could have taken out Big E because, plot armor.
Because they're a secret organization.
But
They
also, the Emperor was part of the plan.
Yeah.
Him losing was part of the plan.
Yeah, specifically him losing, but like they needed Horus to do it, right? Because the idea was then that would put humanity in this sort of like downward spiral where once Horus becomes in charge, he basically drives humanity to, like, he realizes what the wrong that he's done is, and like he essentially just flushes the whole thing down the toilet.
So you're saying this is all part of a great plan?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh goodness, yes.
Like
the Cabal has some final solution qualities to them in a lot of ways.
Right.
What they're engineering towards is very fascistic and genocidal.
Well, the end of humanity is because humanity is the problem.
We'll outline specifically their two predictions here in a minute.
Is this not the Slan great plan?
Yes. Yeah. In a lot of ways, the Slan, the old ones in the Slan very much seem to be at the heart of the Cabal.
Okay.
Or at least some bad interpretation of them is at the heart of the Cabal. Again, there's a lot of like, we'll touch on it here in a minute, basically, but what they actually saw using their technology was pretty horrible, and what they were willing to do is a little genocidal. I mean, I don't even know why I say a little genocidal. It's completely, it's xenocidal. It's xenocidal in the extreme.
Yeah.
Yikes.
So the Cabal, as Drew had just mentioned, had these like halting sites in specific worlds, and they had used all of their secrecy to like keep these places. They had altered the topography, they had altered the environment to suit their needs, and they had constructed these identical landing zones. And if you want a picture of kind of what the imagery evokes, at least to me, if you've ever seen a picture of Burning Man, it's exactly what I think of. This place for a giant disc ship to land. It just makes me think of the way that Burning Man looks from aerial photos. I don't know why. That's what it gets to me. And two of these worlds that we know of, the Imperium knows of. When I say we, the royal we of humanity and the Imperium, were Nurth and Eolith, both of which played host to the Cabal for an amount of time that the Imperium knows about. On top of their advanced terraforming abilities, as Drew mentioned, they were also able to alter the atmosphere and basically also had tapped into life extension and life renewal technology even after death. They used this basically to create functional, immortal individuals that were referred to as perpetuals. These are not the same as born perpetuals. It's just the word is used because the same effect is happening.
Mm-hmm.
This would be a lot closer to the gene tailoring and artificial perpetuals that were created by the Emperor in the Primarch project.
Yeah.
Although even the Primarchs are a different type of perpetual. Basically, the Cabal could take somebody who died, and we'll talk about Johnny Boy soon, and they could bring them back to life. And then after they had been brought back to life, they were a perpetual as long as they continued to operate within a certain sort of circumstances. And if they broke those circumstances, gave up those circumstances, or pissed off the Cabal could basically take that power away from them. But
this is how incredibly powerful the Cabal are, right? They can so fundamentally change the biology of something to, like, and it's sort of referred to as almost a sort of necromantic kind of almost thing, where they can literally bring people back to the dead, regenerate tissue that seemingly was gone or completely destroyed. Like they're capable of some pretty extraordinary miracles.
Like Miracle Max.
Yeah.
Oh, he's mostly dead. He's very
mostly
dead.
I think one of the reasons, with all of that kind of in mind, Chac, to get to what you said a couple of minutes ago, I think one of the reasons they never marched on Terra and just dealt with it directly is because the Cabal realized that if they moved on any singular empire, they would essentially unveil what they were and what their capabilities were to every other empire. And as we saw, I mean, Eldrad took them down. And Eldrad was a member for a short time of the Cabal. So the Eldari eventually were like, fuck no, we have to take you out. You're too dangerous. I think if they moved openly against the Imperium of Man, every other host species would have basically been like, oh no, we can't allow this to exist anymore.
Well, I was being a little sarcastic there, just to be clear.
Yeah.
The reason they didn't march on Terra is it wasn't written that they marched on Terra.
Well, you know, you don't. What's the great takeaway of the last 50 years? The best way to destabilize a country is to introduce democracy to it, so you can capture its oil. My internet
we gave you freedom. You give us oil.
So apparently the CIA is not watching right now.
Ooh, okay.
No.
So
they were looking at the muscle models, though.
They were.
I'm sorry. I just have to interject something. So everybody says, so the whole thing is like that the hobbits were all, anarchists, and they lived in this perfect thing without, we heard the same podcast. They live in this idyllic. But what they did is they engineered the downfall of a civilization that had no king, and then installed a king into Gondor that was their friend. So the hobbits weren't like these little peace-loving anarchists. They were the CIA.
The hobbits are literally the CIA. Yeah, it's such a great fucking bit.
Hobbits are cops.
Hobbits are
cops.
Yeah. All cops, including hobbits. ACAB.
All Cabal are bastards. I think you're right. I think there's some implication again that the Cabal were, while they were very successful, I think kind of like they're dying out.
Yeah.
Right. Like I think there's some expectation that they were, for all of their science and all their technology, they had peaked and they were on their decline, and so that was one of the reasons also for the desperation.
Well, I think Emmy's comparison to the Jedi Council in our production meeting, it is a very, very apt one, because the Jedi Council, especially in films 1, 2, and 3, the Jedi Council in 4, 5, and 6 is this ancient society that's venerated and everybody wants it to return. But then when we see it in The Phantom Menace, The Clone Wars, and Revenge of the Sith, we see it in films 1, 2, and 3. It's very much this bureaucratically locked, almost powerless functionary organization. And I think that's very similar to, the Cabal obviously was a secret organization, but the Cabal was similarly bureaucratically locked. If they made any move too publicly, that's it. You're gonna get elitist right there. The second time I've tried to make the elite delete a magic trick or a magic spell, but you're done. They're gonna take you out. Everybody else is gonna piss you off. It's NATO, it's the UN. You have to play some sort of balancing game with every other country, because as to where you might be able to roll in and take one country completely over, one planet completely over, you can't deal with all of them, especially not all at once.
I think the implication is also that there are so many disparate interests within the group that like they were frozen by compromise, right? They're trying to make everybody happy, and ultimately they stagnate as a consequence.
Their most important tool, speaking of, was an enhanced form of psychic farseeing that they called the Acuity, through which they interpreted or intercepted visions of the future, gazing across the course of events of thousands of Terran years of galactic history. The Acuity was far more potent tool than the more limited and uncertain precognitive abilities available to the Eldar Farseers, and could be accessed even while their starships were traversing the void. So as to where a Farseer kind of has to put themselves into a crystal dome, they have to, the craft world it can be drifting, but it can't be moving. Obviously it can be orbiting or drifting or moving in sublight, but it can't be like flying around. You made the comparison to Doctor Strange earlier. The Eldar are seeing the 27, I just looked at 265 million possible futures. We only succeed in one or whatever. That's a little bit more what a Farseer is getting. They're getting 600 outcomes, and then they have to sort through 600 outcomes to figure out. The Acuity is like, this is exactly what's going to happen. And
my God, that's exactly what Alice Cullen's vampire ability in Twilight is. If you need an exact analog as to what the Acuity is, if you're not familiar, but you do know the Twilight Saga, it's exactly what Alice does.
My brain just IBM blue screened again.
I'm like, no.
That's perfect. I love that. I actually know enough about what you're talking about to be like, oh shit, that's a good point. The Cabal was like, we know how to make the end of the movie really, really exciting. And then when everybody was like, man, that was a satisfying end, they're like, just kidding. None of that happened. It was a vision. And then everybody's like, what the fuck was the end of this movie all about, assholes? Anyway.
So yeah, I mean, in very much the same way, the Cabal plan out everything because of the Acuity that tells them that very specific, because again, their goal in mind is to defeat chaos.
That's all they want to do. Yeah.
Right. That's been the plan from day one. Nothing else matters, and things have to happen this way, including the death of the human race, because we feed chaos more than anything else in the galaxy.
Eldar technically, right? But yeah.
Well, I mean, we will, right? I think they see, because they see the rise and fall of the Eldar, and they see us as an even more.
It becomes a quantity over quality thing. That the quality of the Eldar is much higher, but they don't reproduce like rabbits. We do.
Yeah. So like they get the Eye of Terror, we get the Maledictum, right? Exactly. Like, they get the Eye of Terror, we divide the galaxy. That's how big our psychic imprint is, right? Like, it's just there's so much of us, and we feel big, but not in the same way that the Eldar do.
Because of the Acuity, the Cabal had an inner circle, and these were the members that existed to act as both its governing body and the main interpreters who were able to read and shape the Acuity. I don't know if you guys have seen the movie Wanted, but the Acuity makes me think of the Loom of Fate.
The Loom of Fate, yeah.
But the only member of the Inner Circle that was positively identified by the Imperium was the being named Gahet, a member of a xenospecies that was considered ancient before even the Eldari had come into existence. One who may have been related to the Old Ones, as John Chromaticus referred to him as one of the old kind. The Cabal knew the Emperor's true nature and also knew that he stood in opposition to their primary foe of chaos. They knew that the Emperor had similar goals to them. It was even believed by some of the high-ranking Cabal members, this gets to that indecision part that you were talking about, that compromise part, that the Emperor could have been one of them, that he should have been brought into the fold. However, others believe that because of the circumstances that existed, that would never work because he was way too aggressive. He acted openly against chaos. He was taking the fight to them in the open. And because of that, and because of the moral consequences that would ensue as he launched the Great Crusade and started doing this, and the Cabal just didn't operate that way. They preferred to operate in a covert manner. They didn't want to show their hand. They didn't want to be involved until they had to be. They wanted the universe to essentially move on the oil of its own lubrication.
Mhm.
They saw the Emperor. So as where some of them saw the Emperor as a potential ally, others saw the Emperor as a potential hindrance. And that became the main conflict around where is humanity's place in the Cabal and with the Acuity. Thanks to the Acuity and their advanced, almost godlike technological capabilities, the Cabal had been able to foresee the corruption of War Master Horus and the coming of a terrible interstellar war that would be known as the Horus Heresy. They claimed that unless the proper actions had been taken, this conflict would become a catastrophic event that would doom the galaxy and all of its intelligent species to eternal servitude to the dark powers. Using the Acuity, the Cabal's Inner Circle eventually distilled all possible eventualities into two outcomes. And Drew, you've already laid them out, so do you want to read the first outcome, the victory of Horus, to us as the Acuity saw it?
Sure, absolutely. The Cabal believed that after the heresy, a spark of the honorable Primarch Horus had once been what would remain within the War Master, slowly eating away at him over what he had done, fueling a self-destructive sense of self-loathing that would eventually lead him to fall on his own subjects in an acceleration of violence of the heresy, creating a new cycle of civil strife amongst the forces of chaos that would culminate in the final extinction of mankind. The end result of Horus's rebellion and conquest of the Imperium would be the total extermination of the human species within 2 or 3 generations. However, if humanity were to disappear from the galaxy, the ruinous powers of chaos, whose existence within the Immaterium depended on the baser collective psychic emanations of humanity, would be extinguished with it. Horus wins, and in 3 generations chaos dies, returning the galaxy once more to peace.
And that was what they wanted. The second thing the Acuity saw was victory for the Emperor, and this is where it gets creepy. If the Imperium defeated Horus and his traitor legions, the Cabal foresaw that the Emperor would give his life in killing Horus, becoming a howling undead revenant trapped within a cybernetic life support coffin known as the Golden Throne. His soul fought over endlessly, but ultimately losing a battle against the influences of the Chaos Gods as his power would steadily wane across the millennia. The Cabal's Inner Circle believed that this path would lead to the technological and cultural stagnation of the Imperium of Man, and this stagnation would ultimately conclude in its irrecoverable decay, a state that would accelerate and enhance the human misery, which would feed back into the powers of chaos, create a feedback loop, allowing the dark gods to grow in power and spread their influence throughout the entire galaxy until after 10 or 20,000 Terran years of increasing misery, the entire galaxy and all of its sentient species would be consumed by the unrelenting hunger of chaos. Basically, chaos would take over the galaxy. The amount of things in the Emperor's victory that the Acuity saw that have happened in 40k.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
This is exactly like in Naruto.
wait,
she's not wrong.
When the Toads
it's
at
almost
Mount
like-
Miyaboku predicted Naruto's future over Madara Uchiha, but the Toads use their toad oil and go into Toad Sage mode, and they're able to... Yes! That man right there,
Yes.
that Toad.
I went, okay, so
his name is
for
Godhead.
Full disclosure, Emmy made me watch all of Naruto Shippuden, and
I did.
I loved every second of it. And when we were watching all the stuff about Mount Boku and like the whole prophecy, I was like, this is just like this land.
Yes.
Like they're these big frog people that can see the
Yes.
future, and they have like weird psychic powers. Yeah, like, so 100%. They saw the thing, but like in this case, they, you know, unfortunately involved our ending. And then the scary thing is,
Yes.
when
Okay,
it
there
didn't
you go.
go the way that they had planned.
Absolutely. The Hypnotoad. There it is.
Seemingly exactly what the Cabal warned us of happening happens, right? In the 10,000 years from the heresy till the where we have the 41st millennium,
where we
right?
are now in the timeline.
Mankind
Yeah,
is-
everything has happened.
Yeah, including right up into like even more calamitous things like the maledictum, right? Like things are worse, and it has everything to do with humanity, and the Emperor's power slowly waning.
One of the things we talked about in our coverage of the first 3 years of the Horus Heresy, I was going to say the first 3 episodes of the Horus Heresy, but we did almost half a year on the Horus Heresy so far, and we've only covered the first 3 years, is that what the heresy did to the galaxy is a reflection of what the Cicadrix Maledictum has done to the galaxy. And it's not talked about a lot, but almost along the same line, the Horus split the northern galaxy, the galactic north, from the galactic south, right along what is now known kind of as the Cicadrix Maledictum line. All of the planets that we've talked about so far, Istvan, the Istvan system, the Paramar system, all of these existed in the Segmentum Obscurus, which is in the galactic north. These are all places right now that are in the Imperium Nihilus in current lore. And the fact that it's a cycle, and it gets back to that, history is a cycle, history is circular kind of mentality. One of my favorite quotes, by the way, is where it was, everything's a wheel that only matters to the people that live on the outside. I absolutely love that whole concept. Like, it doesn't matter if you live in the middle that it's a wheel, because it doesn't affect you. And like, that's what's happening.
Of course, we really aren't going to have to worry about the continuing slide and chaos winning, because the Tyranids are going to eat all of humanity.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
Time is a flat circle, to quote Rust Cole. Yeah, it's like trippy, man. So here's what I think. I think that I think the Cabal definitely had Necron in them, because again, the end of chaos is also their plan. I think that I hope they just have the nuts to do this one day and just say, yes, that the Tyranids are a result of the outsider. The outsider left the galaxy and was like, I'm going to solve this chaos problem once and for all. And instead of going the mechanical route, engineers the Tyranids to just come and eat everything so that there is nothing left, and the Chaos Gods will just die.
My favorite bit of like spooky 40k lore nuggets is that there are astropaths who have gone all the way to the galactic east and listened as far as they can listen, and all they can hear is, oh.
Yeah.
And there are astropaths who have gone as far as they can to the galactic west, and all they've heard is the chittering of insects. And the whole idea that our entire galaxy is surrounded by orcs and Tyranids that are just getting closer and closer and closer and closer.
Well, you should read the 50k lore on the entire. There was a lot of stuff fan put together.
The fan
50k,
stuff, yeah.
And it is very good. And it basically ends. The galaxy ends in a human Tyranid hybrid. sort of like
Interesting.
Octarius.
What I really like, speaking of Octarius, what I've always really liked, my comparison is the hyperbolic training chamber from Dragon Ball Z, because that's what Octarius is. You literally have orcs who get meaner and bigger when their foe is meaner and bigger, fighting Tyranids who engineer themselves to be meaner and bigger when their foe is meaner and bigger, fighting each other, and the Imperium is just keeping them in the center, which is stupid because eventually you're gonna have to deal with 35-foot tall orcs and 35-foot tall carnifexes. These two races have demonstrated that's their evolutionary scale. It's a really bad Cold War to be fueling. This is the proxy war that the Imperium should not be funneling money into. But what does that say about analogies to real world history? Anyway, having studied the development of the human Primarchs across several Terran decades, the Cabal determined that the most important to the galactic events would be the oldest. This is interesting because you brought this up earlier, Chac. The eldest in their mind, Horus, and the youngest in their mind, Alpharius Omegon, as they had foreseen that the Chaos Gods would ignite a galaxy-spanning civil war within the Imperium of Man by corrupting and using Horus, and claimed that what Horus could do, or what Horus would do, Alpharius would undo. While they believed that the outbreak of the Horus Heresy was inevitable and cannot be altered, it would be the Alpha Legion who were perfectly placed to control and direct it to one of the two possible outcomes the Acuity had foreseen. This is where Johnny Boy comes in. John Grammaticus was a human Cabal perpetual agent, and he was tasked with arranging the meeting between the Alpha Legion Primarch and the Cabal. This meeting eventually took place on the planet of Aolith, about a Terran year and a half before the start of the heresy at the Battle of Ishtvan III. This actually also puts it a little bit after, but close enough to the wounding of Horus that Horus may not have been. If the Cabal had acted and stopped Horus from becoming wounded, a lot of this stuff may have never happened. So the Cabal is potentially responsible as well for a lot of bad things. Operating with their knowledge of future events with the extremely long view of the Acuity, they sought to bring about Horus's victory by convincing Alpharius Omegon of the truth of their predictions. They asked the twin Primarchs to place themselves and their forces, the 20th Legion, under the banner of Horus and Chaos Undivided, despite their sworn loyalty to the Emperor, and do all they could to ensure the War Master's victory over the Emperor, thus sacrificing humanity to destroy the Chaos Gods once and for all. The Primarch of the Alpha Legion appeared to accept this, believing that such a sacrifice would be what the Emperor himself would do. It's what the Emperor wanted, and it's what the Emperor would have chosen if he was given a similar choice. As the heresy would eventually end with the victory of the Emperor's loyalist forces and the second outcome foreseen by the Acuity, it appears that the Cabal's machinations at some point failed, dooming the galaxy to a fate of becoming consumed by chaos not long after the end of the 41st millennium. Again, this is all assuming that the Acuity is correct. And it does kind of line up. As Drew said, we now have the Cicatrix Maledictum. The 13th Black Crusade came. Cadia stands. That's cool. We're capable of throwing battle stars. Not battle stars. Blackstone fortresses. So we win. In case anybody was wondering where my loyalties lay, it's to the Black Legion. I always love when somebody's like, Cadia stands. I'm like, that's funny because we destroyed it. I love the cover of Chac. What was the name of the book that dealt with the eye? It was the Eye of Terror. The Eye of Terror source book, where Abaddon is literally crushing Cadia in his power claw on the cover. I love that picture so much. But yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot of the Acuity coming into play right now.
But like on top of that, there is this sort of like weirdness of like, where is the Emperor at? Like they're pumping all these psychers into him, but that can only last so long. Is he becoming more weary? And it sort of seems like that's what's happening, that the Emperor himself is enacting some plan. That's why we have the Primarchs returning and stuff like that. I think he is preparing the stage for when he eventually just collapses into pile of
there's
dust,
the button.
and there's
There's the
nothing left.
Crux Terminatus that they can just hit and reset the galaxy. Yeah.
Well, we haven't talked about what's his name's vision is. Uthway. It's not Uthway, but
Eldrad.
Eldrad.
Eldrad Uthway. Uthway's his last name.
Ulinra.
Yeah.
From Uthway.
From Uthway. We haven't talked about him, but you can see what's happening now in the 41st century as being playing out his vision, not the Cabal's vision.
Yeah.
Because he sees humanity as the fire break that, or the shore that chaos washes itself up on. And that's what's happening right now. And is humanity breaking chaos?
But there's a second part to that, which is really crucial. We will talk about his vision, but it's very good to have that in mind. With the power of the Acuity, the Cabal had informed Alfarius Omegon that the Raven Guard would come into possession of a highly valuable Imperial secret asset that was needed to be destroyed if Horus was to be proved successful. The Alpha Legion then made sure that some Raven Guard Astartes, including the Primarch Corax, would survive the Dropsite Massacre at Ishtvan V, allowing the Raven Guard to acquire this asset, a pure sample of undifferentiated Primarch gene stock engineered by the Emperor before the original Primarch project, along with the information about its use and function. But Alfarius and Omegon had their own agenda, with no intention of destroying the sample, and after stealing it from the Raven Guard, they kept it for themselves. They then unceremoniously executed the Cabal's representative who had been supervising their missions. What the Alpha Legion chose to do with this extraordinary genetic material remains currently unknown to the Imperium. However, I think we've got a really big clue that Call eventually got it, and that's where the Primaris Marines came from. However, that's not...
I'm right there with you.
Yeah, I am making connections. That's not something that's been said. That as far as we're aware, the Alpha Legion still has this sample.
I mean, it would make sense why Call could fix, right? Because again, allegedly, Call used gene seed from some of the traitor legions as well, right? So he could have, in theory, fixed it using this primary gene seed. And we know that
the Raven Guard did use this primary gene seed as well during the heresy to make essentially good raptors, and that the Night Lords got access to it through the Alpha Legion to make the raptors that we know of as the Chaos Raptors. None of the Raven Guard raptors, none of the Raven Guard flying abominations survived, as to where the Chaos Raptors still exist. But another of the Cabal's attempts to influence the outcome of the heresy was the attempted assassination of Vulcan. John Grammaticus was equipped with a fulgurite in order to make an attempt on the Primarch's life on the world of Macragge soon after the founding of the Imperium Secundus. It was believed that the death of Vulcan would materially contribute to the defeat of the Imperium, leading to the eventual defeat of Chaos. Again, all of these dominoes needing to fall. However, during the brief period that he was alone and unsupervised on Macragge, John was contacted by the Eldar Farseal Eldrad Ulthran of Crathworld Ulthway. Ulthran revealed to John that he opposed the Cabal's aims and that their belief in Horus's victory would usher in Chaos's ultimate demise was not the path that would be, nor was it set in stone. Eldrad believed humanity was meant to be a firebreak against Chaos, Chalky just brought this up, and that eventually the Eldari and humanity would combine forces and be able to fight back against them. Because of this, he offered Grammaticus a way to leave the Cabal and a chance to stop being a traitor to his own race, something that had already started to plague Grammaticus. And Grammaticus had already kind of been like suffering with everything I'm doing is leading to my race's extinction. And in this case, I don't know if you guys remember the scene where Sarah Connor carves no fate into the table during her dream sequence in Terminator 2.
No fate. No fate, but what we make it. That's
100%. That's what this whole thing makes me think of. Eldrad shows up and is like, hey, dog, nothing's written in stone. The Acuity is powerful. The Acuity gives a very, very powerful vision, but every tiny change we make can change it. And maybe there's a different path out. And that path is an Eldar human unity, an Eldari human unity, which is not going so well.
No.
But that has brought us back.
Reboot.
Because
he does have He does have an Eldari waifu.
You need right, like that is, I think, what Eldrad
you need
what
or he needs
if you're nasty.
But we probably won't get a continuation of the actual story plot line until, I'm just gonna put it out there, 17th edition, based on the fact that between 3rd and 8th, it was the 13th Black Crusade.
So I mean, I lived through that. That's when I started working for Games Workshop, is when the actual, like, that campaign was happening.
It was 20 years, 15 years long.
Well, I mean, the actual campaign itself was like, it was meant to be a summer.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be that long. Yeah,
right. And they had all intentions, because they'd done one previously. Like, that's what the
Fall of Medusa,
Armageddon,
and then Fall of Medusa was the other big one.
Medusa, yeah. And so they were these narrative campaign things, these meta narrative, and it took us like 15 years to get the result.
God.
The reality was that they knew what they were doing at that point. Like, I remember talking to like some of the senior staff at some of the events, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we've got a plan, and this is where we're going." And nice. And everyone was expecting, like, we were gonna be seeing the Void Dragon next summer, and then nothing, and then crickets for years. And I have no idea what the hell happened behind the scenes, where they just sort of like put a big break on the story, and then all of a sudden we got this huge rush, and we got a ton of stuff, and then we back to trickling things out again. At least we're still getting some changes. The Lion's back.
Back.
At some point, we're going to talk about retconning and in a world building episode, because we definitely need to talk about the elephant in the room with 40k lore, which is unreliable narration.
Yes.
However, the big actual retcon in the biggest red bold letters I can type it in is the fact that when 9th edition hit, we jumped to the end of the Indominus Crusade, and then when 10th edition hit, we jumped back to the beginning of the Indominus Crusade. And I can't remember the name of it. Was it Jonathan Price or Nathan Price? One of the authors was working on the Nurgle, the Plague World series, and he had written the first 2 books in 9th, and then when the book for 10th came out, they had to rewrite and re-release books to fix the timeline. Now, because of the unreliable narrator stance, the thing that they used is the Chrono War that's happening, where the Inquisition, there's actually orders in the Inquisition that are fighting each other because they can't agree on what the calendar year is. And relativistic speeds, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that they can fall back on, but that's like the actual, if you want to get me to agree with you that Warhammer retcons, it's the 9th to 10th edition, 8th to 10th edition Indominus jump that I'm like, yeah, okay, fine, you win. That's your retcon. You get 1. You can bitch at me about 1, and that's it.
Yeah. But I mean, it would be cool to see. I mean, I love this idea of there being like just a big time jump, so that we can see what this looks like. Yeah. Right. Like,
absolutely.
Like, it would be neat to see like a 50k game where, like, it's no longer cube. It's not the Imperium of Man, but we've got some weird Eldar human alliance thing that functions as one race with combined technology, and the Slanderback, and like, the Tyranids are completely different. It'd be neat to do to
even
see
if
but would the fans be upset about that much lore just kind of being glossed over?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
you can stop with like just the first part of this. Would the fans be upset?
Yes, they would be.
Yes.
I was just like, how do we, man, Emmy?
Hey, just wait till they introduce the Waifu Neko's Space Marines. The
oh my god!
Marines.
Yeah.
When they add the Fembot Necrons.
That's one of the things. They did add a Fembot Necron. There's a Necron. There's a Necron Pharaon. I can't remember her name, but she's like.
Yeah, there has Necron to be Lord. Female Satans that are trapped in their metal skeletons.
And the female, it's the rulers of the dynasties. It's not the Satans anymore. But there's a Necron female ruler. I cannot remember her name, but part of her like eccentricities, part of the thing that like is she's very obsessed with physical appearance. So she's actually modeled her own necrodermis and the necrodermis of several of her warriors to be more voluptuous. Now, here's the thing. I'm going to state this right off the bat. The way that they've talked about it and the art they've released is not Victoria's Secret 15-year-old boy voluptuous sleek. It is what an alien species would consider sleek and voluptuous. She is obsessed with being curvy and looking Necron-tier feminine. She is not obsessed with looking like Pamela Anderson 1996 red bathing suit. There's a very big difference between what a xeno species sees as the quote unquote pinnacle of horniness and what a 15-year-old boy who skateboards sees as the pinnacle of sexiness. Just keep that in your mind, listeners. She's not a thick robot mommy. She's actually really creepy looking. Like, it is very much that like uncanny valley level of too many digits in the fingers. Her spine's too long, her rib cage is too. It's a very, very creepy looking character. I can see the beauty, but it's creepy. It's awesome. She's a very interesting character. Anyway, man, that was a tangent.
Yeah.
Back onto the Grammaticus line. So Grammaticus and his allies would eventually interrupt a fight between Conrad Kurz and Vulcan. I always want to say Tom Cruise. Between Conrad Kurz and Vulcan on McCraig. And with the intent of killing the Salamander's Primarch like they had been ordered to. But Grammaticus decided at the last moment to side with his own people, and he used the Fulgurite to heal Vulcan of the madness that had been consuming him since Vulcan had taken a fucking nuclear weapon to the chin at the drop site massacre of Ishtvan V. While this worked, it did put the Primarch into a death-like coma and consumed Grammaticus' status as an immortal perpetual, returning him to a life of an ordinary mortal. So his next death after this event would be final. Grammaticus essentially had to give up the part that made him a perpetual. Throughout all of the actions during the Horus Heresy, Eldrad Ulithran would eventually come to view the Cabal itself as the threat to the galaxy. So his vision changed from humanity is the threat to the Cabal is the threat. The Cabal is engineering this conflict, which is feeding chaos. As he would later tell John Chromaticus, he believed that their chosen path for destroying mankind to purge the galaxy of chaos was little more than a hopeless and ritual sacrifice of an entire species. His new path, Eldrad's new path to victory against chaos, existed beyond even what the Acuity had foreseen. The Acuity had a limited time, and that's really true. The Acuity gave those two options, and after those two options, like if you said, okay, what's next? The Acuity was like, no information.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have enough info, no input, whatever it is. That one, the vision that he saw surpassing the Acuity is what we just talked about, that Imperium and Eldari, what do you want to call it? Alliance that would strengthen both sides. And he sought to aid the loyalists in winning the Horus Heresy through the actions such as helping Vulcan eventually return to Terra. So even at this point during the heresy, the Eldari are helping humanity. And it's very, very important to note too, Slaanesh was born in M30. The Eye of Terror came into existence about 1,000 years before the Horus Heresy started. It was not a massive amount of time. And the Eldari are very long-lived. The Eldari, it's within an Eldari lifetime, one. And the Eldari also very much realized, oh shit, humanity is going down the path that we just went down and we can help them. The Eldari have always kind of sought to help humans. The thing that happens is, like we talked about earlier, Eldari are descended from cats, not from simians. There is a very specific headspace, loggerheads meeting of ideals when you combine two things that are so different. The Eldari want to help us. The Eldari don't know how to help us. And because of that, it comes off as they're assholes and they're mistreating us or whatever, or even they're specifically being antagonistic towards us. And humanity has read that largely as all Xenos species are assholes. Not to mention the fact that we just kind of, the Imperium of Man kind of has the all Xenos are assholes perspective anyway. But it kind of leads you to think, Drew, you had kind of brought this up earlier, and I'm wondering if this is why you did it earlier in the episode. Maybe humanity doesn't trust Xenos species. Maybe the Emperor didn't trust Xenos species because of the Cabal.
Yeah, exactly. That their machinations are. I think the Emperor. There's been all these hints the Emperor knows more than even we know the Emperor knows,
Right.
right? Like the Webway project, like he was preparing for something. That by some accounts, he should and probably did know that that Horus was going to turn, right? Like
he planned the Civil War.
Yeah.
And so I think he expected. I think this was part of him moving against the Cabal in a way, right? You know, like, yes, we have to be protective. We have to fear the alien because the alien is essentially the Cabal, right? Like they are the ones influencing all the other Xeno species. Essentially, they are the ones who are directing them all in different ways. They're responsible for the orcs in one way or another, you know. So and we're gonna find out something about the Tau. I mean, inevitably,
Absolutely.
Like the Tau are not just like hyper evolved fish by mistake,
cows,
but that are just
like
God.
They're were they
they're cows.
They're hippos. They're like right. They're like naked cows with hooves that for whatever reason like to get wet.
The reason that all of the Tau stuff is named after fish is because the Imperium decided to name it all after fish. By the way, like that's the dark secret.
That's fair.
They are not fish.
Yeah, absolutely.
Chac, you just very briefly kind of mentioned this. You know, the Emperor didn't want all the Primarchs to survive the Great Crusade.
No.
But he had to call half the legions in order to run the Imperium.
But the thought is that he didn't necessarily want all the ones who died to die. I have
nothing went according to plan.
Yeah, he had certain legions that he did not want to survive, and certain legions he did want to survive. And I don't think it lines up with what we have today.
Erebus did nothing wrong 2024. No. So the Cabal refused to relent in the pursuit of its chosen path, and Eldrad was forced to move to recruit more loyalists from the Wordbearers Astartes, or more loyalists, from the Astartes to his side, including the loyalist Wordbearer Bartharis Narek.
Sounds good to me.
An effort to eliminate the Cabal's members. Space Marine names, I love them. Eldrad and Narek killed most of the Cabal's leadership and agents, including Gahet, Saladah, Hartor Unamendes, and Damian Pyridus, drastically reducing the Cabal's ability to function. Then by the middle, as we mentioned earlier, of the century, by the middle centuries of the 32nd millennia, Eldrad Ullithron would report that the Cabal no longer existed and its chosen path to destroy chaos had officially failed.
Oh, Slouda, that guy is a dick.
Oh yeah,
he's a very interesting character. I'm glad we're going to talk about him.
Oh. With that, the known members of the Cabal and Emmy's favorite, Johnny Boy. That's how I'm referring to him from now on.
Johnny Galaxy.
Boy. Johnny Galaxy. Yeah.
Johnny Galaxy.
I couldn't remember his name once, and I was like, Johnny Galaxy.
It works. Saladah was an Eldra Artarch who served as a member of the Cabal's inner circle and was the one who offered John Chromaticus the chance to become one of their agents. Saladah held humanity in low regard and commonly referred to them by the diversive term Mon-Kai in the Eldar lexicon. He was also one of the organization's most violent and militant members, even if extremely loyal to its cause. This loyalty led the Artarch to sneak members of the Cabal into the Black Library, where they learned of the coming of the Horus Heresy. This knowledge allowed them to begin trying to shape the Imperium's impending civil war to their advantage.
So they, not only did they just not, divine it, they also, snuck in and via espionage, kind of.
They knew the steps that they had to take to make sure it happened.
Okay.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, in a lot of ways. I'm not gonna do good on the test tomorrow, so I'm not gonna study. Well, yeah, now you're not gonna do well. if you had studied, maybe the outcome would be different. It's kind of one of those.
Right.
When Eldrad Ulathran began to eliminate members of the Cabal over fears their plans would eventually actually destroy the galaxy rather than save it, Slaw-Dal was among the last of its members to be targeted. Eldrad and his agent, Bartharis Narek, infiltrated Slaw-Dal's palace on an unknown world and ambushed him when he was alone. Slaw-Dal condemned Eldrad as a traitor to the Eldar race before summoning a force of Harlequins. After a vicious battle, Slaw-Dal was slain, though Eldrad was wounded as well, and actually Narek had to kind of save him and take him away. That's a buddy cop movie I want to see. The Eldar Farseer and the Word Bearer. Coming to Peacock next season, starring Mark Wahlberg and I don't know, somebody else.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
There you go. Wait, which one's the Eldar?
Yeah. I think it's got to be Mark. I think Mark's make a good
Eldar. I think he might even be too big. Yeah. I don't know. You got to get. Wait.
Oh no, he's definitely.
Who's the new kid that everybody likes that plays Spider-Man?
Oh, Timothée Chalamet? No.
Oh, there you go.
Tom Holland.
I was thinking Tom Holland, kid? But Timothée Chalamet and Dwayne The Rock Johnson. There you go. And Timothée Chalamet is the Word Bearer. Okay, I'm sorry.
It's the exciting adventures of Priest and other priests.
Right.
But one of them has fun prosthetics.
Yeah.
Gawhet was a reptilian Xenos and powerful psyker who was most likely a member of the ancient species known as Slann. In his position within the inner circle of the Cabal, Gawhet acted as the organization's handler for its agent John Grammaticus. When Eldrad Ulathran decided to eliminate the Cabal in order to save humanity and find a new way to defeat chaos in an alliance with mankind, Gawhet became one of the first members of the organization he targeted for elimination. On an unknown world, Eldrad attempted to reach Gawhet, enduring a vicious psychic probe in the process as the alien tried to discover the Farseer's plans. However, Gawhet was stabbed from behind by the real Eldrad, with his previous target revealed to be Bartharis Narek. Gawhet's dying body was then reduced to ash by Eldrad's telekinetic lightning. So apparently Bartharis was capable of pretending to be an elf.
Barthusa.
So, there you go.
Barthusa.
Yeah, I think it was Barthusa.
I've been saying Barthasa.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Barty boy.
The names that you read in your head but never read out loud, and then later you have to read out loud.
I know, right?
Yeah. A lot of times they invoke some like weird or outmoded or unusual cultural or linguistic thing that like there's like a bunch of weird Sanskrit that they've like squeezed into 40k and a few other things.
Ultramarines are a strange mix of like Roman, like Greek culture, and for some reason French names, which it really throws me.
And the Necrons are Hungarian, but also ancient Egypt.
That's a good point.
Egypt.
I never thought about that.
Yeah, like the SZ thing is like very common in Hungarian names. And then also the Ultramarines are also Irish. Apparently.
Yeah, it's all over. It's super all over the place. But when we were covering the Battle of Calth, there was a bunch of things that I was reading like an English speaker, and literally my brain Kevin actually pointed it out that it's French, and then my brain clicked, and I'm like, I can now pronounce all these fucking words because I was pronouncing them like an English speaker, not like somebody who realized they were French names.
Right.
What would you say? Galatro? I'm going to say
Galatro. I want to say it's like a short A.
I'm trying to figure out what the apostrophe is supposed to be, because it would be a pause, right? Like Galatro.
Is it a glottal attack?
Or it's a glottal stop, but I don't know if they do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think somebody threw an apostrophe in there because it makes the word look
good.
Yes.
Galatro. it makes it look fancy.
Galatro was an unknown Xenos who was a member of the Cabal's inner circle. An insectoid Xenos, Galatro served as the Cabal's spokesperson and interpreter. He was the primary voice of the Cabal during their initial meeting with the Alpha Legion. Athi Thirarathi was a Xenos of the Cabal representative to the Alpha Legion who informed the 20th Legion that the Raven Guard was to come into possession of the undifferentiated Primarch gene stock. He was slain after the Alpha Legion stole the genetic material from the Raven Guard. I'm really glad I didn't have to pronounce that name again. Authorithi Thorithi.
That's a
You're right. It's just
I think it's trying to make it do the bug mouth thing.
Probably. Daemon Priantis was a human perpetual, though this is not his true name, as he lived for so long, even he had forgotten what his original name was. Unlike his fellow human Cabal agent John Chromaticus, Daemon held humanity in little regard and was known to be a loyal member of the Cabal. He was even known to use the demeaning Eldari lexicon expression Monkai for his fellow humans. He had been alive for untold lifetimes, being recruited into the Cabal after the ancient Battle of Iwo Jima in 945.m2. Working as an assassin throughout the rest of human history, he was later responsible for rescuing his fellow perpetual, Kyrie Valantian, thank you. Kyrie Valantian from the Word Bearer's custody and bringing her into the Cabal. He was forced to die and regenerate several times before Kyrene believed his story about the existence of perpetuals. That's fucking horrible, by the way. Do it again. Do it again. Do it again. Later, Daemon accompanied Grammaticus to Macragge on his mission to kill Vulcan with Fulgurite. During the mission to kill Vulcan, Daemon was badly mauled by the Night Lord's Primarch Conrad Kurz, though he used a flask holding a captured demon to banish the Primarch into the warp. Following the events on Macragge, Pyrantis was charged to serve alongside the Eldar Slaudaw, watching over Grammaticus and the Cabal's outpost. However, this was infiltrated by Eldrad Uthran and his assassin, Barathis Narek. I'm sorry, I'm pronouncing it the way I have been. The Ulthwé Farseer was determined to eliminate the Cabal due to his growing fears that the agenda would eventually lead to the extinction of the Eldari if humanity was swallowed by chaos. Pyrantis became a target for their assassination, but the human put up a vicious defense and summoned a team of mercenary guards. Eventually, Eldrad and Narek were able to overwhelm Pyrantis, and his neck was broken by the word bearers. As he was regenerating, Narek shot him with a shard of Fulgurite, finally killing the immortal assassin permanently. So that's the thing. Fulgurite will kill a perpetual. That's why they were trying to use it to kill Vulcan, because Vulcan is also a perpetual.
Right. That makes sense.
A real perpetual, not a Johnny Galaxy
Right.
Unless
perpetual.
you take all of Vulcan's parts, put them in sealed glass tubes, and spread them across the universe, in which case he can't regenerate because his parts can't get to each other.
Yeah, it's amazing what a little shard of glass can do.
I'm sure it's special glass, but
well, you know what? Fulgurite's a real thing.
Right. I did not, but
you just said right.
Fulgurite
right. is formed when lightning strikes sand and melts it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Right.
It's one of those things that I'm like, this is 40k. I just assumed it was but a lot of this stuff is.
It may not be it may not be using it the same way, but
reality.
you can go to rock stores and buy Fulgurite.
Go to discount Fulgurite. Yeah. Warehouse.com.
We can go to Bernie's Rock Shop sometime.
What's the Hallmark movie with Reese Witherspoon where she leaves her? It's like when everybody says the
Sweet Home Alabama.
Yes, the prototypical leaves big powerful husband for a weird artist that makes no money and lives in the country. And that's what he does. He digs up Fulgurite and sells it. That was that guy's job.
Yes.
Why do I know that?
Yeah.
And her grandfather is addicted to shooting anvils out of cannons. That's it. That's all I remember from that movie.
Yeah. But we now know what that guy was really up to. He was preparing for the Perpetual War. He was just getting ammunition ready to go.
His uncredited name was John Chromaticus. Or wait, no, Daemon Priantis, as we just discovered, who fought in Iwo Jima.
Yeah, Iwo Jima, which is that's a weird touchstone to go with like Iwo Jima, like specifically.
It's one of the very few cases where a perpetual is named to an event in quote unquote recent history. Most of it, like the Emperor is connected to events in history, but most of them are like 8,000 BC. It's really, really strange. It's probably just because it's so close to us. But I mean, they also talk about, the Emperor was most likely in influential humans throughout history. So Genghis Khan, Julius Caesar, Napoleon, Hitler, Paul. I pick a human who had a massive negative or positive effect on humanity, and by lore, the Emperor could have been that person, shaping and directing us towards the 41st, or I'm sorry, towards the 30th.
The Emperor was bioengineered by the Sigilites right before the Unification Wars.
Oh my God, that's a hot take.
Oh. Is that going back to the shaman origin? Is that the
No,
Okay.
this is just a 40k conspiracy. That's why
Yeah,
what's his name was so important, because he actually bioengineered the Emperor. He didn't exist before then.
Malcador the
Malcador.
Sigilite.
So the Sigilites
Malcador.
bioengineered. So the Emperor was the prototype for the Primarchs that were developed by the Sigilites.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know why? But then why are the Astartes named the Astartes if they weren't worked on by Jennifer Astartes? Her name wasn't Jennifer, but
yeah.
By the way, for more controversial pot stirring, the Astartes program's lead scientist was a female.
Yes.
So
and that's why she used her DNA to make the second and the 11th, the Primarchs of the second and the 11th legions, and that's why they're female.
They're lady Primarchs.
Possible.
Well, I allegedly,
yeah.
like allegedly a good portion of all the Primarchs' DNA is partially hers. That she refers to herself as the mother of the Primarchs. That was a big retcon. That was a classic one, right?
That's not Astartes. That's
because with an E.
Aeronaut,
the Emperor's wife.
Yeah, the Emperor's wife.
Am I conflating the two?
You're mixing two characters. But yeah, they were introduced around the same time. They were both introduced in like 2017, 2018 as characters.
But it wasn't a retcon.
It was they were always
explained. There. We just never learned. We just never talked about them.
Right.
Who you're talking about, Mother of the Primarch. We talked about her in the Primarch short we did just before the Primarch short series we did just before we talked about the Horus Heresy. Why Erond, something like that. But yeah, her name starts with an E. All right. So anyway, getting on to other names that I'm going to forget now. Carter Eumendes was a judge of the Adeptus Arbites during the Great Crusade in the Horus Heresy era. In truth, Eumendes was also an agent of the Cabal and was given functional immortality by the Xenos organization. However, he was not a true perpetual and thus could be killed by conventional means despite his immortality, and he would not reincarnate following death. During Eldrad Ulithron's campaign to destroy the Cabal, Carter was among the first of its agents to be eliminated. So this dude was just an immortal. He was not a perpetual. Kyrene Valentino, is that how you said it? Valentino?
Cyrene Valantion.
Whatever. Cyrene Valantion, known as the Blessed Lady by the Wordbearers Legion and the inhabitants of Colis, was an early confessor. She was the sole survivor of the destruction of the Wordbearers' perfect city of Monarchia on the world of Khor by the Ultramarines, losing her sight due to being exposed to the blinding light of a Lance orbitable bombardment when the Ultramarines razed the city. Thereafter, she was venerated by many of those who followed the Wordbearers' religious ideals and was made a confessor by Logar himself. She became very close and trusted friends with Argyle Tall and Zamfin, who came to her with their troubles. One of the 3 Abyss-class battleships was named in her honor as the Blessed Lady. Cyrene was killed by the Legio Custodes for being in their way at the start of the drop site massacre and spent the next Terran year having her soul torn apart by demons in the warp. Later, she was resurrected by Erebus as part of his scheme to better control Argyle Tall. However, she was apparently killed again during the Shadow Crusade when the starship Fidelis Lex was heavily damaged. In truth, she had reached an escape pod and met the Cabal's agents led by Damian Pyrantis, who revealed that she had been transformed into a perpetual following her resurrection. This is when she was recruited. So this was somebody who was, for all intents and purposes, on Chaos's side until she was recruited. All of the people that she was named with that dealt with the Wordbearers were all pretty bad guys.
This poor lady can't catch a break either. Like, how many times has she died?
Yeah, no shit, right? And that leads us to Emmy's favorite, Johnny Galaxy. John Grammaticus had been an officer of the Caucasan levies, a great army that had served under the emperor during the unification wars on Terra. During a victory ceremony after the defeat of the forces of the Pan-Pacific Empire, he briefly met the emperor, who recognized his psychic abilities and offered to speak further to consider his options and his available services for being somebody who was like us. So the emperor was like, boy, you've got gumption.
Yeah.
I'm going to recruit you. Grammaticus was a natural psyker whose main psychic ability was that of being a powerful logokine. This is a psyker who is able to understand and interpret any language, no matter its form or origin, and unleash the innate power behind words. So Grammaticus could understand and speak all languages, no matter like within a couple of words too. And that wasn't
so
just
cool.
human like bug clicks, mechanical noises, every logo kind form, every language kind.
People
form.
always ask, "What's your favorite mutant power you want?" I always go back to that was Cypher, kid Cypher in the X-Men, who could understand all languages, including computer code. And
yeah, it's a really cool. It's a very powerful,
much
power.
more useful than shooting eye beams. Honestly,
I mean,
not as fun, but you know.
Hey, not eye beams. Portal to punch dimension.
Portal to punch dimension. I don't know. I think I would go with trouser snakes. Are we talking about The Boys?
That guy.
Emmy, have you not watched season 3 of The Boys?
She didn't watch any of The Boys.
You'll be horrified when you get there.
Yeah.
If you get there.
My problem is I can't watch that show without seeing it's because it's shot in Toronto. So like I'm like, there's a Tim Hortons around the corner.
That's your problem. That's like your problem with it, not the dolphin sex.
It's like, that's fine. That's just Echo Beach, my friend. There's beautiful bird watching there. It
definitely changes when you recognize everything. It definitely changes it.
Yeah.
However, before they could have that meeting, Grammaticus was killed at the Anatole Hive.
He was hit by a car.
However,
no, he was hit by a car.
Oh my
Allegedly.
Chac, it was a space car.
No, not at that point. They hadn't gotten to space. It was like he got hit by a truck.
Ground car. They had gotten to space. They just hadn't gotten back to space. Later, the Eldari Artarch Slaudaw brought Grammaticus back to life, giving him the ability to reincarnate as a perpetual and put him into service with the Cabal. John will come up several more times as we move further along the Horus Heresy timeline. So don't worry, more Johnny Boy is coming up.
Could he also, in the books, it sounds like he can change his appearance too, but that's not listed as one of his powers. Is that like a
I think
thing?
that's more a Cabal of, because I don't know why, but I kind of distinctly remember that. I think that was more of like one of the things the Cabal
I remember
did
that
for
from
him.
Legion. He could like change his appearance like really well, but he was just a really good spy.
I feel like he has a stealth boy from like an unending stealth boy from the Fallout universe that never runs out. Like he's got something, he's got a device that lets him do stuff.
He's a master of disguise, just like the movie Master of Disguise. That's how he gets in the Turtle Club, guys.
The only thing I could think was the turtle thing. Do you guys remember the zombie boy? The little kid dressed up, like face painted as a zombie?
Oh, I like turtles.
Oh, yes. Yes.
That's a great zombie, Jonathan.
That's John Grammaticus. No.
Confirmed.
I like turtles.
Wait, no, I'm sorry. It's Damon Priatus.
Okay. I don't want to avert us too much, but fun fact, allegedly while they were shooting that Turtle Club scene, 9/11 was happening.
Oh my God.
Yo.
And they were like all horrified but they were in the middle of their shooting day.
They still had to finish whatever. Oh my God. That's wow. Well, with that, we've summed up the Cabal. At least most of what is known. Don't worry, just like Johnny Boy, they will come back into play a couple more times as we continue to cover the heresy. If you have any questions about the show or want to get into contact with any of us here at the show, you can email us at underthehiveofmadness@gmail.com. I promise I share your emails with these guys.
Find us over on Discord and join the conversation about existing lore, world building, gaming in general, and much more. You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and check out our website, underthehiveofmadness.com. Or follow us personally. Links and spellings will be in the show notes.
Help the podcast grow by liking and reviewing us wherever you get your podcast fix. Our home is Spotify, but you can find us on Audible, Apple Podcast, CastBox, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Radio Public, and more. Support us through Patreon at www.patreon.com/Under the Hive of Madness, where you can join awesome people like Tom B., Tim P., and Minion Coffin for access to some extra content and a chance to snag some cool merch in our monthly giveaway.
You did.
Yeah, that's Tim P. That's you.
My name is actually Tim, by the way, if you find me in other places. Goblin King and I are the only ones that don't use our real names on the little show notes for whatever reason.
Yeah, I Goblin King. I'm Ryan Berry.
Yeah.
Ryan the Goblin King Berry. My name is not Jareth. They wouldn't let me change it.
And instead of Chac, my actual name is Tim. So, but Chac just sounds so much cooler.
My real name is John Grammaticus.
Oh, shit.
Guys, I've been meaning to tell you,
Master of disguise.
It's not Emmy, it is Alfarius.
Yeah.
That checks out.
Wait a minute.
Yep,
Makes sense.
I
Wait a
am
minute.
Alfarius.
My literal name on the Discord right now is Goblin King parentheses Alfarius. I actually at one point was like, how many people can I recruit to this? I got Ikbar did Omegon before I did Alfarius.
That's right. I remember that.
And then semi-serious nerd did Allegedless, which I thought was great. Or something like that. This is pretty funny.
Bob's Basement Basket. Home to the Underhive's best wings. Come on down and get tuned to Bob's Atomic Trio. A flight of 3 Nuka, 3 Exterminatus, and 3 Dimacaron wings. Guaranteed to be a sweet and spicy journey for your taste buds. Finish all 9 and take home with Termy, the sauce-gaunt plushie of your very own. Bob don't want to light the Underhive on fire. He just want to light a fire in your mouth.
Don't forget, free Croot Fingers for the kids.
I'm just, as Emmy's reading it, I'm just seeing fucking Tiger King going, I'm never going to financially recover from this. It killed me. I was dying over here.
To be fair, he didn't.
Drew gets to hear my old-timey prospector voice a lot. It's one of the more unique aspects of our relationship.
Always hunting down the best spicy food challenges of the Hive. We are the pirates of the Vox frequency, 665.66 UHMA Chemrat Radio. Reminding all of you Chemrats, Hive Mice, and Sump Ghoulies to keep those dials fixed. Right here, same ratty frequency for a dose of the same ratty-ass attitude.
In the Underhive's gloom, where shadows creep, beware the emperors, their secrets they keep. With forearms they lurk in the dead of night. Stay close together, keep out of sight. Their eyes gleam with hunger, their claws sharp as knives. Their presence brings fear to all who survive. So listen, my child, and do as I say. For the four-armed emperors don't play. Follow the rules, stay safe, don't roam, or they'll snatch you away far from home. In the darkness they dwell, in the depths they lie. Beware the emperors, or you might say goodbye.
And a good way to do that is to be in the library, reading a book.
Don't loot the bodies.
Or join our Patreon for $3, $6, or $9. Again, you gotta throw like the 8K noises and the red-tailed hawk in there.
I'll try.
Okay.
All right, guys. Good night. Thank you for joining us.